Today we're going to go over how to apply vertical shift to tangent. It works very much the same way as vertical shift worked with sine and cosine. So I'm just going to show you a couple examples on what that looks like with a tangent graph, just because the graph of tangent does end up looking a little bit different than maybe we're used to. So on here, let's go here. This is our general equation, a bx tangent bx plus c. Yesterday we went over how the b value affects the period. That's how wide or narrow the tangent graph is. Today we're going to be talking about the c value. In this case, what does that end up do? What does that end up doing to the graph? Okay, that ends up affecting the vertical shift. It moves it up or down, right? Otherwise, most of the graphing is still very much the same. So our example number 1 here, we're just going to work on tangent of x plus 2, right? So how is this going to work? Again, our period for tangent is 180 degrees. That's what the period of tangent is going to be, meaning it's going to start in the middle and it's going to go forward 90 and backwards 90, right? So that you have a total of 180 in there. And in this case, the vertical shift we can see is 2, right? So in here, again, I'm just going to kind of like we did yesterday, and put a vertical line in here because, again, 180, so I gotta go forward 90, right? That's one spot there. We'll color it very similar to how we had it colored yesterday. Color that orange, and then that means also it's got to back up 90 degrees as well. So from the middle, it went forward 90 and backwards 90, just like we did yesterday. But now we have to apply this vertical shift of 2, right? So in here, in order to put that in, I'm going to put a line here because normally our center is at 0. Now it's moved it up 1, 2. So I'm going to put just another line right across here at about 2. And that's just to help me keep track. Again, this is not part of the graph at all. It's just to help me keep track of where that is. Let's make that a little thicker so that we can see that. All right, so it's moved up 2. So now when I go to put in some different things, so you don't have to put these dots necessarily, they're just there for me so I can help keep track of these things. So I'm going to put a dot about right in here, okay? And let's color that a nice dark blue so I can hang on and see where that's at as well. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. Let's zoom in some so we can see that. So now the center used to be here at 0, 0 when we were normally graphing tangent. Now it has moved up 2 because it's had that vertical shift placed on it. And so to do the rest of it, the rule is still the same. That tangent graph has to kind of make this sort of shape in here, this sort of vertical wave, right? That's what it has to do. And to make those other points in there, I'm going to take this guy, and we should go about halfway over, right? Halfway in between, and go up 1, right? The amplitude, which we'll talk tomorrow, changes how high we put this second point, put these other points in there. But for right now, we're just going to take that, move up 1 here, down 1 here, right? Because that's that halfway through turning from 0 to 90 degrees where tangent's equal to 1. So it just moves 1 away. So let me zoom back out here so we can see it. And again, that's where the wave would sit. It just sits a little bit higher than it did before. So I'm going to grab my curve here, and I don't know, let's see if this will work. We'll just make this thing a nice green function. Maybe we'll make it like 8 point or something here. Oh, it was affecting that guy. That's all right. We'll go back and change that. But so we can go along here, connect through those 3, and it's going to go off to, oops, double click out here. So it ends the curve. It curved a little bit on that part. Not too bad. So that is the actual graph here. That's the tangent graph. So let's grab this circle and make that not have that stuff in it. But so that's that tangent graph. The only thing the vertical shift is doing is shifting it up or possibly down. If we are subtracting, it might shift down a little bit. Otherwise, it's very much the same, because before here I could have actually grabbed this. If we can kind of look at what's doing, I'll move this graph up a little bit. Normally, this is where our graph was, but now what we've done by doing that vertical shift is we've moved the whole thing up 2. That's in essence what we have. So if you want to do that as well, you could graph it normally and then just physically grab and move everything. That's what's nice about being on the computer here. So Here, second example, if this is making sense to you, you want to jump right into the assignment, you can. Here, I'm just going to go over this example as well. The vertical shift, I'm actually going to grab that one right away because that's pretty quick, just -4. The period, again, to get the period here, what I have to make sure to do is I have to take 180 divided by whatever this number is here. So just as a reminder, I'm going to type that in so you guys have that for your notes. It should be 180 divided by whatever we have in that case, which is 180 times 2/3 or times its reciprocal, right? Which in this case is going to be 120 degrees, right? So we take that times 2/3. So I'm going to insert that in there just if you need that for a little bit of a reminder on how to find the period or how we did that, right? So the period here I know is 120 degrees, meaning 60 degrees one way, 60 degrees the other way. We're just graphing that middle section in here. So again, I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to steal a couple of things. I'll steal that, and maybe one of these circles if I can get it. No, well, too much stuff. Let's just grab these two then. All right. So we're going to grab those two vertical lines in here. I'm also going to grab one of these circles just so I don't have to redo everything again. So I'll save that circle for a bit. Now, here the period, again, 120 degrees. Right now it's spanning 180 from dotted line to dotted line. So I've got to move this in a little bit. Each of these are, I don't know, maybe, that must be 45, so something in there. So I'd say, I've got to go forward about 60 degrees, which is somewhere in there-ish. That's got to be pretty close. And then back here, I've got to come, there's 45 degrees, a little bit more, maybe 60s around there, somewhere around that spot. There's about forward 60 degrees, backward 60 degrees. So it's 120 degrees from dotted line to dotted line. That's the more complicated part. And then the other stuff, I can put my line in here. I've got to move down 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's where, this has shifted down 2. So I'm going to put that. Let's make sure we can see it a little bit more. So there's where it's been shifted down. So I know the middle of my graph used to be here at 0, 0. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see that. Used to be here at 0, 0, but now we're going to move that down 4 because of this subtracting 4 that's happening right there. And then we fill the rest of it in. We use our amplitude, and I'm going to go about half. Whoop, I don't want that whole thing. We're going to go about halfway over, which is pretty much right there. That's about halfway. And then I'm going to, actually, it's really nice. The computer is, mapping it right to halfway point over, which then, and then I go up 1. And then same thing, I'd back up halfway. Let's grab just the circle. Back up about halfway and then down 1. And that's all, about halfway to the end of the graph and then down 1. And then we just make our wave in there. So let's turn some of that off and let's zoom back out. And I'll put that graph in there, and that's the whole thing. So I can put my curve. I'm going to start up high. It's going to come down to about this point, go over here, and all the way out. And again, the computer wants to make this a little bit of a funky, weird thing there. Normally, this would be a nice smooth connection there, but that's the limitations of what we have. So again, if you guys have any questions on this stuff, send me an email, put a post on there. Most of you guys have been pretty good about doing that if you do have questions. But I encourage the rest of you to as well, just in case, if it's like, man, I'm just not getting this, let me know and I'll find a way. Like we'll grab Desmos or something like that and work that out. All right. See you later.